You know who I love?
Who?
Bill de Blasio. And he's with us in Iowa.
Okay, I got a question for him.
Mayor Bill de Blasio. I have the first question.
No, I have a question.
I got the first question.
No, okay, better not be my question.
Don't fight over the question, guys. It's
Mr.
okay,
Mayor, I just want to say, I want to set this up because the New York Post has been mocking you. The Daily News has been mocking you. Late night comedians have been mocking you. Everybody's been mocking you. My question is, and I mean, the New York Post, everybody hates Bill. My question, Daily News, and the Daily News, as opposed to Daily News, Escape from New York, you got a patch over your eye. My question is, how much did you pay everybody to lower expectations to such a point that they're saying the same thing about you this year that they were saying about Donald Trump 4 years ago?
Joe, look, you're saying a very important point here because when you look at who mocks and when you look at who attacks, it tells you so much. So what's happened in the last 24 hours? Certainly, Rupert Murdoch's New York Post has been attacking me, and Don himself, Donald Trump, not only tweeted at me, he created his own video.
Wait, let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. Because let me tell you something. What did I say yesterday, Lemire, after we ran his tape? Yep. I said de Blasio knows how to fight. We've already got the nickname, and I like it. Everybody, hashtag Condon. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Con man, yeah.
Oh.
And listen, Joe, why do I call him Condon is important here because as a New Yorker, I've watched this guy for decades. He's a con man. He's a trickster. We've all watched what he's up to. And he told working people in this country in 2016 he was going to be on their side and he was going to be there to make their lives better. He conned everyone. He has been the best president for the 1%, for the wealthy, for the corporations we've ever seen. Biggest tax giveaway to the wealthy corporations in a generation. And people are seeing through it. What is he doing with his tariff war? He's hurting farmers here in Iowa. He's hurting consumers all over the country. He's a con man. So I'm going to take it to him. I'm a New Yorker. I know how to deal with a bully. I know how to deal with this guy. I'm going to take it right to him. And because I said Condon, here he comes, and he makes his own custom video to attack me. It's music to my ears.
Well, let's show that right now.
And then I have a question.
And then Mika has a question. Mika has a question.
I can't believe it. I just heard that the worst mayor in the history of New York City, and without question, the worst mayor in the United States, is now running for president. It will never happen. I'm pretty good at predicting things like that. I would be very surprised to see him in there for a long period, but it's just not going to happen. If you like high taxes and if you like crime, you can vote for him. But most people aren't into that. So I wish him luck. But really, it'd be better off if you got back to New York City and did your job for the little time you have left. Good luck. Do well.
Wow. So, you know, Mika, by the way, that plane the president was flying in?
Yeah.
Do you know what Mayor de Blasio calls it?
What does he call it?
Con Air.
Oh.
Con Air.
There you go.
Oh, you beat me to it.
You can actually
beat me to it.
You can actually use that. Mika has a question.
You're good when you're tired. Okay, so I've twofold. First is nice, then not so nice. Okay, so my brother just texted me and said, like a year before my father passed away, he said Bill de Blasio will run for president and he will be a remarkable candidate. Those were my father's words. My brother Mark just told me. But now I ask you, what makes you remarkable? There are so many candidates. I want to know, besides being really tall, what makes you feel like you have to hold on? What makes you feel like you have to jump into this massive pool of candidates, that you are so special that you must add what you bring to the table?
Here's the windup.
What is it?
LaGuardia, we've got landing to your question.
Coming in right now.
Land the question, Mika.
Well, that's it.
Listen. First of all, I'm very moved by that kind segment that kind passage you just read, and thank you for that. And I appreciate your whole family, Mika. The fact is that when we talk about changing working people's lives, and this is what this whole election should be about, working people in America who are hurting right now, working class people, middle class people who are struggling like never before, I'm clear about the fact that I put working people first in New York City in the work I've done. All the things that I've been suggesting need to be different in this whole country, we've actually done them in New York City. Guaranteed health care for all New Yorkers, including mental health care. Pre-K for all children for free, paid sick leave, These are the kinds of things that change working people's lives. So what do I have to offer to this field? A set of progressive ideas that help working people, that prove it can be done, and I've actually done it. That's the difference here. I've shown that I can lead and get the job done for working people, and we have to take on Donald Trump, and if you're going to take on Donald Trump, it sure helps to be able to fight back and understand how to deal with him. There's nothing about Donald Trump that surprises me. There's nothing about him that intimidates me. I look forward to fighting him head on. And you saw in that video, I'm already under his skin. I'm already under his skin. And you need a candidate to take him on who knows his tricks and knows how to deal with them. I told you, I did a counter video, by the way, you should take a look at. And I noted that his video was very low energy. I don't know if you saw that, Mika. Very low energy.
It was. He seems a little
And obviously, he's a little, he's a little scared because if he wants me to go back to New York, he doesn't want to have me competing with him. So I think it's about knowing how to take on the bully, go right at him, and take him down.
So here we go. So we're evolving here. Now it's low energy Con.
Okay,
right?
Con Air. That was good, Joe.
He's now too low energy to even break out of prison.
And also the video is sort of oddly lit.
All right, Lemire.
Mr. Mayor, Jonathan Lemire here. You have said that you are uniquely positioned to challenge Donald Trump because you represent the people who know him best, New Yorkers. And you say those New Yorkers know him to be a con man. But by that same rationale, the people who know you best, New York Democrats, 73% of them in a recent poll don't want you to run for president. Explain that, please.
You know, Jonathan, yeah, it's very straightforward to me. First of all, New Yorkers overwhelmingly rejected Donald Trump in the 2016 election. 80% of New York City voted against him. So the people who know him best didn't want him. The people who know me best made me mayor twice by margins of 73% and 67%. And I've been able to make a lot of change in New York City. We're the safest big city in America, highest graduation rate we've ever had, most jobs we've ever had. Things are moving forward for working people in New York City, and that's what we need in the whole country. So look, I always say this about polling. Polling is not the same as elections. It doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you end. And I've been an underdog in every election. I've been in 10 elections, I've won them all, but I was always an underdog at the start. I'm very comfortable with that situation. The bottom line is I'm going to show people, not only in my state, but all over the country, that I have proven that these progressive solutions for working people actually work, that they can be done, that we don't need to have a country where the federal government's only on the side of the 1%. You know, I say there's plenty of money in this world and there's plenty of money in this country. It's just in the wrong hands. That money needs to go back to the hands of working people. I've proven it can be done, and I think when people see that, they're going to feel that there's something important there.
Mayor de Blasio, it's Willie Geist. It's good to see you. Congratulations on entering the race. You're going to campaign on this question of income inequality and helping working people. It's a message Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and others also have been carrying around and pushing on the campaign trail. But as you know well, in New York City, income inequality is a huge problem. There are a lot of really, 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 really rich people and a lot of really, really, really poor people, and not enough in the middle. So do you agree it's a problem here in New York City? And if you're president, why would it be any different for the country if we haven't gotten it done in New York?
Oh, Willie, we've made a huge amount of progress in New York. We've lifted hundreds of thousands of people out of poverty in the last 5 years. We're giving families free pre-K for their kids, free after school. Folks have a higher wage because of the efforts of our city and working all over our state to get that wage up to $15 an hour. There's a lot that's changing that's helping working people to have a better quality of life, a lot more affordable housing, health care, guaranteed health care in New York City. 600,000 people uninsured, we're guaranteeing them direct access to health care, including mental health services. So, Willie, when you think about those things, it's not perfect. I'm not saying it is. There sure are some really rich people in New York City and all over this country. I want to see them pay their fair share in taxes. I want to see those Trump tax breaks for the wealthy and corporations repealed. I want to see money put back in the hands of working people, but we've proven it can be done. And we've made serious progress in the last half decade in New York City. And look, what I'm saying to the American people is these things can happen, and it's not a policy paper with me. It's things we've actually done for 8.6 million people, and I want to do it for all Americans.
And you've said before, and you just said it again a moment ago, Mr. Mayor, that you believe the money is in the wrong hands. That raised some red flags for people. What exactly do you mean by that? You want to redistribute wealth. How would you do it specifically?
Willie, it's been for too many years a government of and by and for the 1%. let's be clear, going all the way back to beginning with Ronald Reagan, and it's been an unbroken chain up to the Trump tax cuts for the wealthy and the corporations, more and more money and power concentrated in the hands of the very few. Yeah. What's happening to working Americans? What's happening to middle-class Americans? They are stuck economically. They feel in a lot of cases they're actually going backwards. They don't feel secure. They don't feel like the next generation is going to do better. This is not the America we all signed up for. We signed up for a country that was fair.
So how do you achieve that, Mr.
In my
Mayor?
city, say again, Willie?
So how do you achieve that? How do you redistribute that wealth specifically? What do you mean when you say the money's in the wrong hands?
First of all, the money's in the wrong hands because the federal government policies favored the wealthy and the corporations. First, let's repeal those tax cuts, those tax breaks that Trump gave to the wealthy and the corporations. Let's bring up the taxes for wealthy people to the level they should be at. By the way, when was the fairest, most equal time in this country's history? From the 1940s up to the 1960s, including during the Dwight Eisenhower administration, when you had a much more fair, higher tax level for the wealthy, where you had a huge amount of federal investment in education, higher education, in infrastructure, roads, highways, mass transit, the things that would move us forward, science, research, all of the things that help make America great came from that kind of investment, because we said to those who were wealthy, hey, congratulations, you've done well, but you need to pay your fair share. Unfortunately, since Ronald Reagan right up to Donald Trump, it's been the other way around. We can change that, and we can bring fairness back.
So, hi, Mr. Mayor. You've made some big progressive changes in New York City, but Washington, D.C. has a lot of things that New York City doesn't, including Mitch McConnell, who's likely to continue to be Senate leader. So how would you get progressive, profound progressive change working with Mitch McConnell? What is your relationship with him, and how would you work with Mitch McConnell on big, bold, progressive change?
Thanks for the question. First of all, when I went with my number one initiative was free pre-K for all the children in New York City, absolutely universal right. I had to get that by our Republican state Senate in New York. They had to approve that too, and it took a lot of work, but we created a groundswell. That's how we got it done. We created a groundswell that made it so irresistible. There's so much public support that even that Republican state Senate wouldn't say no to it. I think that's part of the key here. The things I'm talking about, we're going to build support all over this country, so that we have a government that's on the side of working people, and that working people are demanding the changes. And by the way, in so many red states, so many purple states, you see working people demanding higher minimum wage, Medicaid expansion, so many things that are necessary so that people can live decent lives. There is there are a huge number of people in this country that if they heard real ideas that would change their lives, kitchen table things. So this is where Democrats really need to focus on economic issues, kitchen table issues that people care about. If Americans knew their kids could get free pre-K, if Americans knew that they would actually have universal health care they could depend on, that if they got sick, they could still get the day's pay and not have to choose between going to work and being sick versus taking care of themselves, taking care of their family. A decent standard of living, again, that's what the American people want. If we can rally people around that idea, it doesn't matter if it's Mitch McConnell or any Republican member of the Senate, they're going to have to respond to that too, and that's how you make change.
All right, Mayor Bill de Blasio, thank you so much, and thank you. We have a hashtag with Condon, and by the way, also he flies around in Con Air.
Condon's
trademark.
Condon is going to be reaching. He's going to be tweeting at you now too, Joe, because you said Condon too. So
well,
you're going to be in this now.
He tweets at me every day. I mean, whether he says my name or not, he thanked me. He said,
you guys have fun with that.
Thank
you this week. Thank you, Mayor Bill de
capitalized brain or something. I didn't get that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Red Sox too.
Coming up, Willie's interview with David Letterman.
Something about the Red Sox.
He did say something about the Red Sox. He listened to us. He took credit for the Red Sox. He never took credit for Sale, though.
Willie's interview.
This weekend.
David Letterman. We've got a special preview of Sunday Today.
Tell me more about the beard. Well, you tell me about your toupee. You know, I've been waiting to use that line for 4 years.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.